Hey Mo,
Hey, Ricky.
the doctor is in.
Yes, we are. And we are in with a bunch of future doctors and clinicians and folks who are making it happen, boots on the ground. And I love this. This is always one of my favorite episodes because we
Yep,
get to
yep,
to meet the folks behind the scenes and the next generation. Like part of our job is to, who is it? Shirley Chisholm. She says service is the rent you pay for your
right.
room here on earth, right?
Yep. So we
So we're
got
paying it forward. That's
they're
right.
paying it for us. I think so. I think this group of interns brings us up to 55, Haley, that we've had. You're on mute, Hale.
I said, I think even more than that. I think we're in the 60s now.
Oh,
And
we're
I
in the
think
60s now. Wow,
yeah,
wow,
I think so. So we've
Wow.
had we usually have at least 10. And this round we had about 10. So it's been a great fall. Thank you guys all for being here and being amazing interns. And again, fitting this into your schedules. I know a lot of you guys are in finals and things like that right now. So thank you for making
Yeah,
this
yeah.
work.
Yeah, I know we know
It's
it's
incredible.
finals time and end of the semester. So we're so glad that you're here. And we can't wait to hear all about you guys. So why don't we do a quick round robin, say your name and your school, and Lyndon, you could say you're graduating in a week and say what year you are and what your major is. Okay. So Lyndon, you go first since I've called you out.
Okay. My name is London Duvall. I currently attend Jackson State University. My major is healthcare administration. As she said, I am a graduating senior. I graduate next week.
Woohoo!
And what are you
Yes.
gonna do when you graduate, Missy?
So I accepted an offer at Gilead Sciences, so I will be starting there in January.
What? So I met Lyndon this summer at Gilead, and and she was a mover and shaker then, and they had her come back for real life. Isn't that so cool? So cool, so cool, so cool. So who wants to go next? Atalia.
Yes, I'll gladly go next. Okay, so hey everyone, my name is Italia Lee. I am a freshman actually at South Carolina State University. My major is pre-med biology, so I will not be graduating until 2027. But yeah,
It'll be here before you know it. What are you hoping to
Yeah.
do after graduation? You have some ideas?
oh, of course. Definitely go to med school. I'm very interested in becoming a pediatric oncologist, so it's like the perfect internship for me.
Well, pediatric oncologist, God bless you. That's a tough one, right?
It really is.
I know, but you know
Absolutely.
what? I've learned so much from pediatric oncology, Mo, because 80% of the patients are on clinical trials. What a concept, right? So it's such a great clinical trial argument for grown-ups. Like if the babies are doing it, you can do it, but that's where they get their,
But something happens between pediatric and 20 and 30-year-olds. And somehow the 20 and 30-year-olds kind of fell out of favor in clinical trials. And then it becomes like, people who are stage 4 and metastatic, or people who are elderly, or people who are
right,
over
right,
50 or over
right.
60 or whatever. And I think that exploring that gap is so interesting. You're right, because so many babies and children are on trials that are uniquely designed for children. But then when
Right,
we get to the other trials, some of the criteria really didn't include, historically didn't include the 29-year-old with breast cancer. And it was like,
right,
nope, we just throw the kitchen sink at her because she's young and she got
right,
cancer. And so,
right,
there was never a
right,
trial for that person. But you're right. There's this weird curve. It's like an
right.
inverse bell curve. But pediatric oncology is, in my mind, it's almost as gut wrenching as veterinary medicine, right? Babies and animals are two of the most
Mhm.
vulnerable populations. That, and then you throw in the elderly with geriatrics, and boy, oh boy, I admire you for that career aspiration. I'm gonna come back to you, ask you why. We'll get back
Yeah,
to you.
yeah. Come right
Okay.
back. All right, Zaria.
Hi everyone. My name is Zaria Jones. I'm a sophomore biology major from Atlanta, Georgia. And well, actually I just changed it, so sorry about that. I'm a human development major now, and I'm a bio minor. And speaking on what she said that she wants to do, I'm really into advocacy, so it's for breast health or even for children. So I'm in a mix between both. So I want to go into child psychology.
Zari is right around the corner at Howard, so I had passed out bags with her about a month ago on campus on the yard, and it was very fun. So thank you for having me.
You know.
You know, right? I love it. I love it. I love it. Jasmine. You there?
Okay, I'm sorry. My
Okay.
not working, but I'm Jasmine. I go to Xavier University of Louisiana. I'm a biology pre-med major and I'm a junior.
Great. We're so excited you're here. Victoria, are you coming on screen? Coming on camera?
I think she said she was at
Oh,
work.
she's at work. Okay, so she can't talk. All right. How about
She put a message in the chat.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that. Okay, great, great, great. No worries. How about you, Corinne? Can you come on camera?
Yes.
There she
Hello.
is.
Hey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Corinne Sever. I am a junior at Spelman College. I'm a health science major on the pre-med track, and after undergrad, I have hopes to go on to earn my MD PhD.
Awesome, awesome. You know, we just had our first intern go to medical school. Her name is Jade. She went to Spelman, and I think she got into 7 med schools, including Harvard, and she went to Vanderbilt. Jade Bowers. Yep. So she graduated, I guess it's been 4 years. She was one of our first interns. Yep. And she's now in medical school. So she's a force. Great. All right. Okay, Mo, I know you want to ask Lay some questions. You go first.
Well, I guess I want to know your why, right? It's the same question I ask everybody, anybody who does this work. This is work from the heart. And you either have some personal experience or some family experience or something. So tell us, what interests you in this field and in particular in breast cancer. Anybody can go.
I can start. I have well, I don't want to say personal experience with breast cancer because I've never had breast cancer, but my grandmother did. And she was able to quote unquote beat the breast cancer, but then it metastasized and it became brain cancer, and she eventually passed when I was 5. And the statistics surrounding Black women and breast cancer is something that continues to interest me. You know, our statistics are so high, and we're so much more likely to get the more harsh of breast cancers. And I really want to know why that is. I think that's also why I'm interested in getting my PhD, because I want to know why things are the way that they are, and if there is any way that we can change, the things that we don't like about medicine and the statistics regarding medicine. And so I really do hope to discover something in the world of research in regards to breast cancer, especially regarding Black and brown women. And so breast cancer is just something that has just interested me for a very long time because of my grandmother.
A great why. Do you have any idea what kind of breast cancer your grandmother had? You were so young, and it probably was a while ago, so they probably didn't even tell her.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm not even sure.
Yeah. Who wants to go next?
Okay, I can go next. So for me personally, I had an experience about 7th grade, and okay, cancer runs through my family. It's something that's like pretty common. So I am like very cautious on like how to be able to detect when your body's feeling off. 7th grade, I noticed there was like something in my neck. It was kind of swollen, and I was really worried. I told my mom, and we went to my doctor. We started doing a lot of blood work, and we noticed that my white blood cells were very low. And they referred me, because I'm from Denver, Colorado. They referred me to Children's Hospital in Aurora, Colorado, and there I saw an oncologist, and it was this white old man, and he comes in the room. He does my blood work, and he's like, "Good news, you don't have cancer. You're just Black." And that took
Oh my
stunned
God.
me. I was like, huh,
You're
how do
just
I break this
Black.
Wait.
down
Oh my
as a
God.
13-year-old Black girl?
Wait.
how do I like break this down as a 13-year-old Black girl? Yes. And
Wow.
so from that moment on, I've made it my purpose to be more like be representation, especially for Black women in healthcare, but specifically for cancer, because no, he was not fired. So fast forward, my junior year of high school, I did an internship with the Medical Career Collaborative, and I actually landed a spot in the blood disorder clinic. So I was shadowing a lot of registered nurses, a lot of um, phlebotomists, doctors and stuff like that. And I remember I was talking to one of the doctors about my experience from the 7th grade. And he basically told me, he said the exact same thing. And it made me think that that was the exact same guy. I couldn't fully remember what he looked like, but the way that he said it and considering like how he kind of looked, I was like, I wonder if that's the exact same doctor who told me the exact same thing. So he was like, oh, it's just because you're Black. And so, being told that twice, I really made it my purpose to become a Black woman in STEM, specifically working in oncology. And especially because my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer this past year. So it's just like a lot of things. And I just feel like everything's telling me like this is my purpose and this is what I have to do in order to be a role model for young Black women who are battling cancer. So that's my story. That's my why.
That's awesome. How's your mom? Is she okay?
Yeah, she's doing really good actually. She's carrying it very well.
Okay. Well, tell her to call me if she needs help.
Okay, I will.
We have a great support group for breasties. It's actually this weekend. I'll send you the info.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody want to go next?
That's an incredible story. Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
I know, right? Because you're Black. Woo.
I can go next. And yeah, I can definitely, when it comes to doctors, I've had that kind of similar experience of them kind of like not believing me or kind of brushing it off, saying, oh, it's in your family. Oh, kind of suggesting that it was because, oh, you're Black. But so I can definitely harmonize with you on that one. The reason why I wanted to be a part of this program is that I am all about Black women's health. So when it comes to maternal health, when it comes to cancer, we're at the lower bottom when it comes to being able to have those resources provided to us when it comes to those things. And I wanted to, through changing my major from pre-nursing to healthcare administration, I wanted to be a part of that change when it comes to public health, being able to provide those resources, especially this HBCU experience, providing them on HBCU campuses, because talking to the women at Jackson State, a lot of them are like, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know where to go about this. A lot of my doctors are saying I have to wait till 40, but you see the numbers. A lot of people that are younger than 30 are dying of breast cancers or other cancers. So the reason why I wanted to be a part of it is kind of be an advocate for us Black women.
Great.
I can also go
Great.
if no one else has a response.
Great. Go.
Okay. So for me, my experience with this, I never grew up with like knowing anyone directly who really had breast cancer or anything. So I came into it like just head first, like, okay, we're gonna do this. This is gonna be something new because I'm always open to doing something new. So as I started to do this internship, I realized that like Black women are really underrepresented, and I didn't know that because I was in my bubble at home in Atlanta where everyone looks like me, my doctors, my dentists, everything. So I realized that I was really privileged at first. But during this process, like hearing how like other people's stories about the doctor visits and all those things, it was just a lot. So I'm like, who would I be if I don't advocate for those who don't have the same opportunities as me. Just because it's not happening to me, why can't I advocate for them? So this internship was not only a learning experience, but it was like an eye opener for me and I would definitely try to do this again.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What are some of the myths and some of the misinformation and some of the eye-opening things? I don't know if we got to everybody, and you feel free to keep chiming in, but I'm not sure if Victoria and Corinne are kind of
I know, and
are able to join us. Oh wait, we got somebody new.
Yeah, Carmia just joined, and Victoria actually wrote in the
Hey!
chat. So Carmia, hey.
Hi, everybody. I apologize for my lateness. I'm coming from a class, so I tried to get here as quick as possible. It's so
Class is
lovely.
important.
It's so lovely to be
Academics
here.
come first.
Yes, but my name is Carmia Beatty. I am a junior biology major and chemistry minor, and I'm at Howard University. So that's kind of the pool of people at home and students here at Howard of where my internship is reaching. Also, I did have an answer for the last question that we had, the why. Me personally, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a surgeon, and I have a personal connection to. I know you do surgery too. I was like, but me personally, I also have a connection to like an experience with breast cancer. My grandmother on my father's side, so this is my Black grandma, because my dad's Black, my mom's white. She died when my dad was 17 years old, and she was about 42, I believe, from breast cancer. So that's something that's in my family, and then that's something that's specifically with a Black woman in my family. So knowing that there's a lot of disparity, that breast cancer can show up differently in Black women, that medicines can affect Black women differently, or treatments can affect Black women differently, or work differently, was a eye-opening thing. Like, oh wow, like I wonder what happened to my grandmother. I wonder how she was taken care of. And also personally working in the healthcare field, I am a phlebotomist, so I draw blood for patients, and I kind of get to be a fly on the wall because I do something that's needed, but it's a very simple thing. So I observe when doctors are talking to patients. I observe the difference between Black patients and white patients, and the different demographics, different health, I guess, like people's health status that I see in the hospital and the different ages. And my one thing I noticed is like the lack of education that a lot of patients have coming in, and that's all across the board. So me going into being a doctor and fulfilling out my career and all the things I want to do, the one thing I want to focus on was holistic medicine and healthcare. I don't know how that's going to match with surgery. I don't know yet. I haven't figured it out, but I just know that there's a lot of
Call me. I'll tell you all about it. We got some stuff for you. Holistic and surgery, it goes well. It does.
Oh, that's so exciting to hear, because that's something that's been on my mind, just seeing how people take a lot of pills and get certain care that doesn't seem to actually help them, or seems to treat an underlying surface issue, but not the underlying issue that we see with patients. So rounding back to touch and being internship here, like it's just been really awesome to spread that information and to let people know, here's what you should be eating, here's how you should be taking care of yourself, here's how you should be checking for a lump, or for something that's weird, or for some nipple discharge, something like that. Here's how you should be checking for that, so people really know. And I was able to get feedback from one of my friends who I did something with, and she was like, I send this information to my family every time you post it, and everybody in my family gets to hear what you said. So it's really educational, and I really love that you post this. So I was like, oh wow, that's good to hear that feedback and know that I'm making a difference, like with just educating people. So sorry, that was a long response.
So that's awesome. That's all the things we want to hear. That's awesome. Here, I'll read what Victoria said to us. She was at work. Not breast cancer, but I had a grandmother that passed from cervical cancer. And even though it wasn't breast cancer, it opened my eyes to the overall treatment of Black women in healthcare. And breast cancer is a field that sees major malpractice involving Black women. I saw this as a great opportunity to educate people about that. Thank you, Victoria. Great. So, woo, you guys have some good, serious whys. And some family history, which you need to be aware of, right? Like I don't have any genetic mutations in my for me, but our family has 3 generations of breast cancer. So that puts, you know, Haley and my other daughter, Amanda, at risk. So, and you guys do have some history, so be wary of that when
That's
you
true.
your screening, you know?
So let's do a round robin. Let's talk about some of the myths and things that you've heard from older folks and from younger folks, because I'm sure there's somebody, I've heard at least 2 people say there's so much misinformation out there.
Right.
Like, what kind of misinformation are you hearing, and what did you learn, or what did your family members maybe learn that was like a fact from a myth that they believed, if anything?
Okay, so I could definitely start us off. One of the myths that I definitely heard, and I think a lot of us here as women, is that you are too young to get breast cancer. And as I was doing my internship, I definitely learned that that's not the case at all. I found some information that said like 25% of women with breast cancer are younger than 50 years old. And considering that a lot of women do get breast cancer as they're young, I started to think, and I was like, okay, what about the women in my life? And it started to make sense. I don't know where a lot of the misinformation comes from, and I don't know if it's just to put women at a disadvantage, but once you do start to do your own research, it makes you realize that like this is something that we do have to bring more awareness to, for sure.
Wow.
Got that right, because I mean, as you know, one of our youngest former interns, was 19 when she was diagnosed. My youngest patient was 17 when she was diagnosed. She had to put off her MRI so she could take her senior class pictures, and it's just like unbelievable. But getting younger and younger. So yeah, young people definitely, can get breast cancer, and doctors should be aware, because they send women away all the time and say, oh, it's probably just this, it's probably just that. And that's one of the worst things you can say as a doctor is, oh, it's probably dot, 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 whatever you were going to say after that. And it's so cavalier sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yep. They all know Ari. Ari was their boss, right? You can tell us what kind of boss she was, right? She was thinking of coming on tonight, but she had something going on. So go ahead. Who wants to go next?
I would say one of the myths I've kind of seen is, again, with going to a OBGYN and then them telling me asking them about, oh, mammograms and all that stuff. And they were like, well, since you don't have the family history for breast cancer, then you don't need a mammogram till 40, which is not the case. You're always at risk for breast cancer.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and they're telling women who are older as well, oh, you can stop getting mammograms, right?
Right.
And Jasmine said, when people don't think breast cancer is as serious and important as other cancers, and she said, sorry, her mic isn't working, but you're absolutely right. Some people, we had one of our breasties, I think it was Sheila. She said she didn't know Black people could get breast cancer till her mother got breast cancer. She didn't think it was a disease that affected us as a community, because all the people she saw and all the commercials and the Avon walks and all the other stuff didn't look
White
like
people.
her. Mm-hmm.
Yep. We hear that a lot from young women, that we didn't think Black people could get breast cancer. But Sheila was definitely shocked.
At the moment, I can't think of a myth, but I did just want to add to the end that they didn't even know that. That just adds to my point of they didn't know that Black women could even get breast cancer because you don't see us on the screen. You may see, our counterparts when it doesn't. So we don't have representation the way that they do. So I think that it's important that like representation is a big thing. And as long as we're seen and we start to do these things, that's why like this whole internship, a lot of people learn so much stuff, because at first people don't know, they're not educated about it. So they have no way of,
Yeah, I think, Zari, thank you for sharing that. I think it's so important to acknowledge that you guys are changing that in this internship by populating you know, the world with information where we do see Black women in this space. We do see Black women thinking about their Black breast health and understanding that Black breast cancer is real. So you guys are changing that narrative. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and even showing, you know, if you look at the commercials for, we were talking to one of our pharma partners today about some of their commercials and how they're all older white women running on the beach with their beautiful grandchildren dressed in Gucci, or, you know, are on a yacht, or like playing golf. And like, that is not who we are. And you're not really us, you know, and like looking happy with metastatic breast cancer, you know. She gave me one more day. Like, the commercials are terrible, and they're not realistic to who we are and how we experience breast cancer in our community. So we have to change that image for sure.
And Haley, you can chime in too. I'm interested to know from your experience so far with Love of My Girls, you know, what are some of the myths and some of the misinformation? Because I'm sure you see it every day, you know, on the campuses and other places too. Because I think that how young people perceive breast cancer and how older folks perceive breast cancer might be two different things sometimes.
No, totally. I think I just did this podcast right before this, and I was talking to this amazing woman. And again, this moment where like everything I say is new information, which is amazing to be able to share. Also, like, who else doesn't know? Let me go find them too. And one of the things was I was looking at our Her Story worksheet that we have for Love of My Girls campaign, which I encourage everyone here to do. Because again, it just
Put a
really
link to it.
digs into that family health history. It's so important. And knowing your risk in that way but our worksheet goes beyond breast. It goes into ovarian, prostate, hypertension, diabetes, all of these things that could relate to your overall health, as well as some that relate directly to breast cancer. So the thing that I just talked to this woman about was the relation between, and Dr. Mo, you can kind of dig into the nitty gritty of this, but it was the relation between prostate and men in your family, and then breast cancer and women in your family. And so they're just being that, you know, just making sure that people understand that when you go to that family history work, it's not just going to look for breast cancer, right? In your family history, you want to go look for all the things that are a part of your health history, right? And that includes the diabetes and the hypertension and prostate cancer and ovarian, just knowing these things. So again, you're in the know. But just the relation between all the different diseases and the things that are common to Black families and common to us for so many reasons, the foods that we've eaten over generations, you know, things like that got us here. And so this relating all the diseases is something that not everybody knows to do or think about.
And it brings up a good point, because how many of you knew your family's history before this? Like, did you guys talk about your diabetes, hypertension, cancer, other things, or did this spark conversations for you in your families as a result of being involved in the internship?
Jasmine, you want to talk? You're on mute.
Yeah, even non-cancer family history, because I know, like, we didn't know all the diabetes and hypertension and all the other stuff in our families either. So I'm just curious to know, because maybe the tide is turning and we really are having these conversations more in families.
I know my family, it is funny like how stereotypical my family can be sometimes, because on my mom's side, for the most part, people are more healthy. You know, my dad's side, you can see a lot of his siblings are over 300 pounds. So definitely way into, you know, diabetes and hypertension. And it's, you know, we're from Mississippi. So originally, even though I'm from Chicago, like we came up from Mississippi. So my grandpa, he had 15 siblings on a farm, and they used to, you know, cook that Southern food. And he used to make chitlins every year for our family. I never tried them. I was scared. But yeah, I definitely noticed a big difference in my family and my dad. My dad plays basketball probably 4 or 5 times a week at 53 years old. Go dad. But yeah, all his siblings being into my Black side of the family being big, and all them being big and being more overweight and having these issues. And I didn't even realize it until I'm just looking like, okay, wow, they look a lot different from this side of my family, or even how we eat in my family. And I would ask my parents, like, what's up with that? What happened with that? And he's like, well, this is what we eat, and this is what we did growing up. And here's a lot of the emotional issues that we had that could lead into overeating, that could lead into the type of food that we had. So like it was all connected, and we did talk about it. But it also is kind of taboo because you don't want to view somebody differently because of their weight or how they look, or because of issues that they may have, but it's still important conversations to talk about because it concerns health and not just how people are viewed as well.
And they were willing to talk about it. Is that what you're saying? That they were willing to talk about their weight and what?
I believe, I don't know if my actual family is willing to talk about it. I know my dad is, like, even though he works out most, he's still like, I think he's maybe like slightly medically obese. I don't think it takes much to be medically obese, actually, but he's slightly there, and he's probably the most fit in our family, and yet he holds the most weight in our family because of, I don't know what type of family history he has, and he is pre-diabetic and has hypertension as well. And like his heart valves are smaller, and I don't know if that's because of how his parents ate and then how their parents ate and how that affected him genetically when he got born. But I know my dad talks about it, but that side of my family, we will not talk about it altogether. My dad tries to start those conversations because he's more connected to it. So he's like, look, I do this and I understand how it feels to gain weight easily. I understand how it feels to love all these foods growing up, but we have to do better. So it's better for him to start those conversations, but I haven't seen any personally.
Okay, but at least people are talking and your dad's talking, which is good.
Exactly.
And he's making the connection, right? Right. Great. Jasmine saying in the chat, I had talked with my families. I feel like this internship was an even bigger eye opener, especially losing someone so close to me from cancer. Not specifically breast cancer, but it still shows that Black women are just underrepresented. So that's good.
And you know, Carmia, you bring up a good point too about obesity, right? Because that's a whole show in and of itself on what technically is obese, and you know where and how the science and the history of medicine have been disadvantaging people of color for generations, right? You know, things like BMI, things like the GFR, the glomerular filtration rate for kidneys, other measurements that have historically either excluded us or been slanted in ways that make us clinically worse off than we are. But having those conversations, you know, is so, like Ricky says, that her story, you know, is so important because sometimes it just takes somebody asking and starting off the conversation, and then it all really comes out, and you learn so much about your family that you didn't know, whether it's, you know, diabetes, hypertension, obesity, etc. But I love how you said, you know what, my dad, he might be the largest of us, but he's probably the healthiest. He's probably the most fit out of all of us. And recognizing that, like, that body positivity is hard to come by. And I think there's still a lot of shame in our families and a lot of stigma regarding, you know, weight. And maybe things are changing, but I love the conversations that you all are having with your family members about this. Like, what are your classmates and colleagues saying? What's going on the yard? Are people like, well, why are you doing this? Or do they get it?
For people at Jackson State that I've talked to, a lot of people look at the information and they're like, it's needed. It's needed on campus. It's needed more than just, I've been saying, hey, awareness is more than just 1 month. It's all year round. It's 24/7. We need to keep a spotlight on this so that Black women have that representation. So a lot of people on my campus are agreeing and also telling their stories about how their mothers had breast cancer and how they figured out how to do self-exam. So it created more conversation about the topic.
Right. So great. We're so grateful for you guys spreading this news, right, about your family.
I would say I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I would say at Spelman, I kind of had like a similar reaction. A lot of the girls who I interacted with didn't have a lot of knowledge regarding breast cancer. And so, having this information out there, giving it to them so freely, a lot of them, they were able to like take a step back and really like look and it's like, oh, I think I should know the signs for this. So, in case anything happens, I can know what I'm dealing with. I can know what to do. I can know how to move forward instead of, just getting a lump and moving on and hoping, that it's nothing. And so a lot of the girls that I talked to, were very grateful to have this information, so easily at hand. So, that they were properly informed on the topic.
Right.
And I'd say for me, this internship and being able to inform my audience more about breast cancer has been very, it has definitely improved a lot of people's knowledge in terms of breast cancer. We've had like so many campus events. We just had a bike ride today for awareness for breast cancer around campus, which was really, really cool. And I'm so glad I got to participate in that. But when you realize how many people do support breast cancer, but not necessarily know too much about it, it makes you think, yeah, there's so many events going on, but why is this important? And when I was going around asking people why they were doing the bike rides for today, the bike ride event that happened today, a lot of them said like they had family members that were personally being
Impact.
affected by cancer. And it came to a conversation where I started to kind of inform them, and a lot of the people were like, "Oh yeah, I know this girl. I be watching your story. I've heard this. I know how to do the self exam." It's like, okay, my bad. I'm just so that we know, um, to make sure that everybody's on top of it. And I'm actually glad because I've posted a lot about how men can also get cancer and how men can also
Right.
get breast cancer. So a lot of men have come out to the campus events, supporting
Right.
cancer, supporting breast cancer. And, I'm just glad it's not just limited to women with breast cancer, but, with men
Me
included
too.
as well.
Great. I'm so glad you put that out there about men. That's great.
I think on that note too, it's been so cool to watch because when we started this campaign and started doing research, a lot of the women on our Young Women's Advisory Board said, we're not alarmed by these statistics. We want to know them, but we want action steps to come with it. And so you guys have taken awareness and turned it into action, really. You're giving people
Yeah.
the tools to do self-breast exams and how to do that and sharing that information. So it's so powerful because that awareness piece, like it's really easy to know to do the right thing, right? But are we doing the right thing? And so you guys have actually given people the tools to go and do that. And so it's so cool because I guess hearing, like, I obviously have been stalking you guys for the last 3 months. It's been my job to do so. But now it's nice to hear you guys say like, oh, this made a difference in this one person's life, right? And so, yeah, I'm living in gratitude.
And for us, all it takes is one. If we could do an event and see, like I said, Haley's wedding, we scanned how many, like 28 women, young women, and 3 of them had benign tumors. But just to find that was a blessing. We did an event last week for young women in Chicago, and we found 1 malignancy. So even though we scanned 30 women, just that one person that we found cancer and was helpful to help that one person is all it takes, You never
I mean,
know.
even that day, Mom, I was stressed because I was like, no one's getting scanned. I have a lot of work to get them here. Like, so people go get scanned. And
Right.
then to leave there and know that, like, even though people didn't get scanned the whole time, I was kind of like, I felt like time was wasted in this way, funds were wasted in this way. And that one malignancy that we found, like, I would pay 10 times what I paid. I would give
Right.
10 more weeks. I would give
Right.
so much more time and energy to that
Yeah.
to find that one malignancy. You know what I mean? Like you
Right.
can't quantify these things. It's so great, So I was like, what a great thing to know that somebody's going to potentially know a week earlier or know a little bit sooner, act on it a little bit sooner to make a difference in their disease state.
To that point, Haley, we had some people, and one woman in particular, she was like, yeah, I was never getting a mammogram. She said, I just
Right.
wasn't. I knew that
Right.
that
Remember
wasn't
her?
the things
That's
I had
right.
heard, etc. And to be able to offer some innovation and something in this space, even at something like a wedding, like that to me is a really beautiful thing because it means that we can be aware of and prioritize our health and our prevention no matter what. Like there's no excuse at that
Right.
point, right? And
Right.
it's painless and it's easy and it's radiation free
And
and
it's free, right?
yeah, and it's free. Like you already paid for it, so there's no good reason not to. And I think that when I look back on my days, I went to Florida A&M. When I look back on my days at FAMU, we bless our hearts. Uh, we didn't have a lot of conversations. I was a biology major. We didn't have a lot of conversations about our health unless it was related to maybe pregnancy or STDs, but like
Right,
preventative
right,
stuff, and even like
right,
nutrition. It was agricultural university, agricultural
right,
mechanical.
right.
We didn't talk a lot about nutrition either. Our cafeteria had a lot of collard greens and fat back and all the things, and it was some good eating, but we didn't we didn't talk about this stuff. And I feel like now we're getting to the point where we recognize that, yeah, we can celebrate our heritage, but we could also, we could put smoked turkey in our greens, or we could have meatless Mondays, or we can prioritize our health in ways that
Right.
we didn't always. So I just feel like this generation gives me a lot of hope. Because as somebody said, your colleagues, your classmates are like, yeah, why aren't we talking about this stuff? And so when you take it home, did you find that your families knew a lot about it, or were they like surprised too?
Okay, I could definitely start this off. I feel like I've been talking a lot, but I'm gonna keep it short.
That's okay.
So
You're
for
good.
my mom,
Talking.
okay, so my mom, she's battling breast cancer right now. And I have my mom on Instagram. She always goes like through whatever I post. And a lot of the things that I posted, like she reacts to every single one, she reads every single one. And there's a lot of things that she didn't know. And so as someone who like being her daughter and being able to just teach her a little bit more brings such a smile to my face because I just want my mom to
Right.
like be okay. And I feel like there's so much value in knowledge, especially when it's something that pertains to you. So, especially for my mom, she's definitely like was like, "What? I didn't know that. How am I currently experiencing this?" And I had no idea. But yeah, I
Wow,
really do appreciate that.
that's great. So is your mom on chemo right now? What's she doing?
Yeah, she's on chemo right now.
Great, great, great. Tell her to call me. We'll get her.
Okay, I'll be sure to.
Yeah, tell her to call me. We'll get her in our support group on Saturday. We have a support group this Saturday, so for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but I think the fact that you can feel confident that you're bringing her information she didn't know, and isn't it surprising though that she's battling breast cancer right now, but there are things that you know that she doesn't? Was that surprising to you?
It is so surprising. I'll be like, "You did not know that?" She's like, "No, I've never heard that before." So it's just comforting that I can let her know some
Right.
things.
That's a beautiful thing because cancer
Right.
can be so overwhelming that even if somebody told you, or if they slid a pamphlet in that big binder they give you at the beginning of things, chances are you didn't read it, you didn't remember it, you might have heard it, but it didn't stick. And so having somebody who can just be that type of advocate and say, but did you know? Or you know what, I read this. We need to make sure that we brush up on this, or let's get this zinc and this vitamin D, and let's make sure that we get you some green leafy vegetables in, mom, because this is going to help your body do XYZ. Like that type of information is what we need, because at a time when you feel like all I'm getting is chemicals, 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 you want somebody who can speak to how to just feel better and live healthier and more holistic. And the person who I think it was Carmia, she was like, I got to figure out how holistic fits into this. It definitely does, because the things that you all are learning are going to help the community recognize how we can practice Western medicine, but we can do it with the spin from our ancestors. Like we knew food was medicine, but how is food medicine,
Right.
right? And how can it keep us healthy? And so, like we got to combine these things, and I think that's where you all come in with your knowledge and expertise, because you're going to help a whole generation of people who don't want medicine understand that there's a time and a place for it, but that we can also eat our sea moss and our apple cider vinegar and cauliflower,
Right.
and
Right.
we do all of it.
Especially when you start talking about recurrence and preventing recurrence, that we don't have any data about that for Black women. But I mean, that's what Haley did for me too. Like when you're sick, I didn't want to read all that stuff. Like I could barely keep my eyes open half the time, but I had Haley to say, hold on, I read this thing, this is what I think we should do, or have a different opinion, or give me direction and tell me what to do, which was hard for a minute because I'm the mama. But on the other hand, I hadn't read it and I didn't want to. And so I had to rely on her to tell me what to do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you have a mom who's stubborn and doesn't want to listen, I know how to deal with this. So call me. Um, but I say that because it is the caregiver part is a large part of this experience as well. Breast cancer is a family disease in that way, and so it's so important for young women like everyone here to like
Right.
be know that's a part of this experience as well, and just have the resources. It's so cool to see you guys sharing them, and I think that back to the holistic piece, like mom, like the things that you weren't doing were like you weren't sleeping well and eating well. Those are two things that can be solved by so many holistic items, right? Like we definitely took other routes to get those things healed, whether it's from the melatonin and eating the right foods that make you want to sleep. And I love me a good sleepy time tea, like
Right.
all of these things and these herbs that get you those things, but without those Western things that are sometimes really hard on your body, like chemo, you know what I mean? Like that's really hard on your body. So pairing it with things that are more natural, I think is so important. And again, the food is medicine, and making sure you're eating the right things is so important. My husband, which is weird to say now, he got like a slight like a little high cholesterol moment on his last checkup, because we're both in healthcare and like we got to do our own healthcare and like not sick care. We've been working on that in our own home, and even since then it's been like, you know what, we do eat a lot of bacon and like process, like let's just like be more aware, and so these are little tweaks that we've been able to make that allow for us to feel better and feel healthier, and feel like I can go on that run or whatever the things that it's so important. So know that I'm a resource as well for those who are caregivers in this space, but also like definitely figure out what works for you. I think healthcare is an individualized experience in that way, and start to figure out what works for you.
But I'm so proud of you guys that you want to be doctors too, because we don't have enough of you. We don't have enough Dr. Mose. And for you guys to take this career path is so important. And I know you're making a lot of hard choices to study that organic chemistry and not go to the party and go to summer school to get prepped for organic chemistry or whatever you're doing. And you guys, it's so going to be so worth it, because we know it's hard, but everything's hard. But we know that, if you have an aptitude for science and math, it's such a great thing for you to be taking this career path, because we don't have enough Black doctors. We don't have enough doctors that can really understand our community. And so we need you. We're ready for you. Bring it. So excited about that.
I love it. Jasmine put in the chat, she said, in fact, fun fact, since you mentioned it, I'm an organic chemistry tutor. Girl, where were you 20 years ago? I sure could have used you way back. Oh gosh, 30 years ago now.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. But anyway.
Can we tell people that? Can we sell you?
Right? Yeah.
No, we can totally
chemistry.
post you somewhere as a post, so we can you
help with
people like at different
organic,
schools.
Yes, right.
Seriously, it was bad. We had a professor, he was very obese, and he would write on the board and he would erase it at the same time. And so as he was walking, his belly was erasing whatever he had written already.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but you know what, good old FAMU, because here I am. But what advice would you give to the next set of interns who's coming after you? What's your tips, pearls, and wisdom? What you got for them? Things that didn't work, stuff that worked really well. What would you pass on?
I feel like for me, it's definitely the time of day that you post. I was realizing like, okay, if you forget late at night, maybe it's best just to go the next day, next morning, where people are going to be up looking at Instagram early in the morning, and they'll be more likely to see the information that you're actually trying to put out there. So yeah, just knowing it's like kind of the social media algorithm, seeing, when people can receive the information. And then on top of that, also just trying to basically spread the information in person as well, like in
Mhm.
your classes with your teachers, whenever you can
Right.
connect in person, because that's when you're going to make more of a lasting impact. I didn't even know the impact I was making on social media, which is great, but it's always, I guess, more personal just to speak to people and really tell them and bring it up in a casual conversation. I mean, it's not really casual, but it should be. So you can kind of start creating that
Mhm.
habit of, talking to people in person about breast cancer. And that would be my advice.
That's great. That's so great. So great. Love to hear that.
That's also so nice to know, Carmia, because that was like an addition between you did the internship this past spring as well. And so we added in kind of tracking those things
Right.
to track when people post to see if it would make a difference. So I'm glad to know that it does, and that's something we should continue to do.
Yeah, but I have to explain for our audience. So we ask our interns to post on social media 3 to 4 times a week. So you guys actually created our TikTok platform because I don't even know how to turn it on. But I do see your videos, and it's great to see you making self-exams on TikTok, and all the things that you're doing is so great, and so many things that we wouldn't be, that we wouldn't be able to do in an audience we wouldn't be able to reach without you. So that's when they're talking about posting, it's because that's what they're doing for us, right? Anybody want to talk about best practices or what worked well or?
For me, I would say some good advice is doing your own research, not just going into looking up breast cancer facts, which you need to do anyways, but kind of doing your own research on campus. So I created like a Google form and sent it out to the group chats, and then kind of got people's takes on, or got kind of like a overall view of, okay, this is how much somebody knows about this, and then got certain percentages to where, okay, is this how do I post, and how many people does it need to reach? And I was able to kind of get the scope of that. So yeah.
Great. Anybody is
Okay,
good, right? Who wants to go next?
for sure. For me to bounce off that idea, that is 100% one of the things that I used when posting. I did a lot of quizzes and a lot of polls when I was posting, just to see where my audience was at and see what exactly I needed to post to make sure that they were being taught what they needed to know. But I would also know that what you like, how you make it visually look is also important, because people aren't going to want to read something that looks like a lecture or an essay. So like, font is important, probably the types of colors you use is important. Just make sure it's visually appealing and that it's going to grasp your audience. Make sure like when you post, you're looking at from a point of view of, is this what I would want to read? Is this what I would want to look at and learn from? So just keep that in mind.
Wow.
So impressed with you guys, like
I love that.
doing your homework beforehand and saying, hey, what is my community missing? How can I fill in that gap? Like, that's so powerful.
So great.
I had to write mine out. I have to sometimes write down my thoughts before I actually say it.
Okay.
So, I made 3. So I said, first, don't close yourself off, because I think I closed myself off. I was like, oh, well, this is not what I'm focusing on. But I feel like the more you know, the better. So even if it's not pertaining to Black women, or even a woman, if it's a man or if it's a white woman, I feel like the more that you try to learn, the more that you can know and put things. Sometimes you put 2 and 2 together, be like, oh, I didn't even know that until, and now you can tell and, spread the word. And then I also said, plan your schedule, because I'm a professional procrastinator. And sometimes life in school gets the best of me. So I'm like, I'm swamped. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I have to set aside, because it really doesn't even take that long to really make these posts
Doesn't.
or the TikToks for real. Just to, do your one good deed of the day. And then lastly, have fun. Don't pressure yourself. It's really not that hard. It's very interesting. it's fun to do. So I feel like those are the three things I would give to someone else coming in.
I love that. That's so great. That's so great.
It is, because I feel like sometimes we try to make this work feel so heavy, right? But it's like it's educating your community, it's letting people know, it's telling truths, it's spreading, good messaging and combating misinformation on social media. Like, it doesn't have to be so heavy all the time, but try to have fun with it, but also manage your time, because let me tell you this, the further you get into medicine and into graduate school and all those things, time management becomes a really huge deal. And
Yeah.
so that you all are figuring this out now is going to help you so much in
Later in
your
life.
future.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a question that I ask, every young person about. So the next time you get a job, like our lovely Lyndon just did, when the people were talking about giving her a job or not, she wasn't in the room. Now, she had been around them, they had her resume, and when you guys are like thinking about your next job or your next opportunity or getting into medical school, you're not going to be in the room, right? So think about the three things you want those people who are basically strangers to say about you. So what impression do you want to leave on them? So when they hear your name, Zaria, they think of these three things. When they hear your name, Atalia, they think of these three things. And that's what they remember about you. So think about those three things, and you can either say them or not, but I think you should think about, what do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? That's going to get you that job. That's going to get you into medical school. That's going to get you the next internship.
I think
I
I
love
spent
that,
a lot of
Ricky.
time. I spent a lot of time thinking of these three words, given that my mom has told me this my whole life. And I came up with, get ready, guys. My three words, and again, they work together too. They are curious, reflective, and provocative. And those are my three words. And I think and so as you could begin to think of yours too, know that they can work in tandem, because none of those alone describe me, but as in relation they do.
And self-aware, right? Because at least you know those things.
Yeah.
And that's a really important thing. The other thing I'll add on to what you said, Ricky, is I sit on the admissions committee for medical school, and when you can tell a story, and when you can explain your why, and you can show better than you can tell, right? Because someone will ask you, tell us a time when you overcame difficulty, or tell us about yourself. Learning to be a good storyteller, and remembering a patient, a family member, an encounter that you had that impacted you, draws people in. And the better storyteller you are, people remember those stories, and they repeat those stories when you're not in the room. They say, okay, her score was this, but she told us the most amazing story about how at that time she was this. Her mom was going through chemotherapy, and how she was every day studying, and she would take her mom to infusions, and they remember those stories. So the more you can tell your story through the lens of your interactions with others, and tell that why through the people you help, that goes a long way in the admissions committee process, and people remember those things.
Right. People remember the stories. But you know what? That goes true for even our advocacy work. It's the stories that make an impact. And even I think you learned that maybe in the internship, that when you shared a story about something, you got traction on your post, right? That's what makes a difference. So,
Any
wow.
other takeaways from this experience, guys? I know that Jasmine said to advocate because someone is watching and someone's taking notes. And so making sure that you're representing who you are all the time is super important.
Oh, one takeaway. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you. One takeaway that I would take, or that I have from this experience, is that a lot of the women who, we're trying to reach really do want this information. And so I remember like when I made like my first post, I was like, this feels kind of weird. I'm like, suddenly I'm posting all this information about breast cancer and, all this information. I'm like, I don't know if people really want to hear this. I don't know if they care. And then I have people coming up to me, in person, being like, hey, I saw your post about breast cancer, it was got me thinking, and I really appreciate the information. And, it's telling me, it's informing me in ways that I had never thought of before. And I'm really thankful for the information. And
Mhm.
I mean, I was really shocked. So I was like, oh, okay, they do really want to hear this. It's something that, most people, who aren't in STEM or medicine, I think as people like who like have aspirations to go to med school, like we kind of make like a us and them type in our head, kind of. It's like I don't think we care about, most of
You're
the
a
stuff.
team. You make a team, right? For yourself.
Yeah, and it's like like even like because like I do research often. I'm like, I don't think that people really care about my research, But then when you really start to talk to people and they really explain it to them, they do care and that they do think this information is valuable. So I would just say don't overthink it because people want to hear this information.
It's great.
I definitely
Fine,
agree
guys.
with all of that. I think it's, yeah, the information is important and people do want it. And I feel like another big takeaway I took from it is, how you're communicating with people is how they're going to receive it. And I know that, layman's terms and people who want to be a doctor and like understanding how to explain something, and even like Dr. Gary talking about talking to people in an interview, being able to tell a story, like that goes outside of the interview room as well. Like being able to tell a story to your community and being able to communicate that we're all in this together, or being able to just connect with people on a very basic level is a very important skill. And like I've learned that a lot with just how I post or even how I talk to people about, breast cancer or trying to educate people. And so yeah, being able to connect with people on that level to make them go, oh, it does connect to me. Cause like a lot of big language, like, oh, well, this is metastatic, whatever, if you're talking about big words that, people can't necessarily relate to, or a situation that they feel that they can't relate to,
Mhm.
then they kind of check out. So this information is important and people do want to know it, and also understanding how to, cater to different
Do it.
people, cater, to people's different people's knowledge or how they
Right.
receive it is a very important thing that yeah, I'll definitely be taking with me.
I love that.
Well, I can't
All
wait
right,
to see what
guys.
you all do next, honestly, and reach out, let me know what I can do to support you in your future endeavors. All of us here in touch and loving my girls and even blackdoctor.org, we're all so proud of
So
you.
proud. So
So
proud.
proud of you. Yeah,
And so
yeah.
grateful for you having this little journey with us for, even it was 10 weeks, and come
Black
back. I
excellence
know,
right
Carmia,
here.
this is your second time around the park, right? So, so we're happy to have you back, and we want you to get straight A's. What do I always say, right? Get, do your work, everybody's investing in you, your families are investing in you and spending a lot of money on you to get to get your brains bigger. So focus there, but just being part of a community like you were with us is so great. We're so grateful for that, and so grateful that you're sharing breast health with your peers and making a difference in your community. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So go
Well,
back to, you have finals, right? Who has
that's
finals now?
right. That's right. Study hard so you can
I know,
party
study
hard. Here
hard,
it is.
and so you can have a great break and you can go hit the real world, London. We're so proud of you.
Yeah, we'll see you, Gilead. Absolutely. Well, as always, we hope it's been relatable and reliable and real, right? It's what we do every Wednesday night here on Black Doctor. We're so thankful for it. Our sponsors, thankful to our interns, thankful to our platform, thankful to
Yeah.
our community of folks for watching, right? And chiming in and asking questions. And we'll see you next Wednesday night. What are we talking about?
Next Wednesday, we're going to be at SABCS. We're going to be at the San Antonio Breast Cancer Conference and getting lots of new information. It'll really just be starting on Wednesday, but we'll probably go, I think we're going to go sit in the Breastie Lounge in the convention center and do the show there and just bring a lot of breasties on to talk about what they're hearing, what they're learning, what they're experiencing, and how some of this new information and data about new products coming out and research is affecting our lives. So We'll be there.
Awesome. I'm going to miss you guys this year at
I
SABCS.
know,
So,
I know.
yeah, can't make it this year, but I will be there in spirit, and I want to hear all about it too. All the research, all the innovation, all the questions. Bring your
Yeah,
tough clinical stuff. Like, what does this even mean, Dr. Mo?
right.
And,
Yeah,
stump the chump, and we can talk about it because somebody has to help translate all of this information because it's a lot of good stuff, but it can be
like
overwhelming to
over your
go to
head.
these.
But
Yeah.
that's the next week show, Mo. We're gonna have Melissa and Haley come on and do our live reporting from SABCS. We're gonna be reporting live, Melissa, Barry, and Haley Dinnerman and I all week from SABCS.
Awesome.
So look on our
Awesome.
Facebook page, it's Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation, Cancer Fashionista. We're reporting every day. Emily's gonna write a blog every day about what we're learning. So we're gonna be reporting live for everybody who can't come. We'll be there, come join us. We'll be there interviewing doctors and scientists and all week. And then the next show, Mo, will come back and kind of present what we learned. So we have 2 weeks of.
I love it. I love it. Looking forward to it. Okay, everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday night. The doctor's in.
Doctors
Interns,
in.
thank you
Breasty
all.
love. Breasty love. Thanks, you guys. Study hard.
See
Love
ya.
you. Bye.